go ahead and get started. Effective hiring practices. I truly believe we hire and fire our problems, so we really want to make sure when we're hiring, we make sure it's effective, okay, and it's consistent across the board. So today, we will be going over hiring, new hire orientations, employee handbooks, discipline and recognition, and terminations. Effective hiring practices. Again, this is something that it will probably sound a little tedious in the beginning, but I promise you it'll help you in the long run of hiring, retaining the right people, and it will just become so much of your routine that you'll get used to it. Simplify a complex and important task. This is such an important key element to your business. It's very important. Avoid negligent hiring. I hired so-and-so's friend. I didn't fully do the interview. Oh, oops, they're working 2 other different jobs. They can't really benefit their time to mine, or maybe they're not even qualified for that job. And we need to make sure we find the ideal candidate. The hiring process, what does that entail? Prepare to hire, meaning why are you hiring, okay? Candidate selection, employment offer, pre-employment due diligence, and your onboarding process. Now we'll go into detail of each of these items. And also, don't be too scared of writing down all the notes. After this, and I have all of your email addresses, I can send you a copy of it, okay? What is preparing to hire? Determine your job requirements. Is this a new position for your company? Is this a replacement position? And you will hear me say all the time, where's your job description for that? Did you give that job description out to the employee when you hired them, when they were interviewing for it, their first day of the job? Knock on wood if they don't get a workers' comp injury, but I'm going to be asking you always, where's that job description, okay? We can help you create those, and also part of the package here with Insured Solutions, you have full access to the HR 360, which we'll get into later. How do you get that applicant pool when you've decided we need to hire someone? Again, promote within. I always recommend that. They know that your culture, they know management, they know the lifestyle at your work. How do you advertise? Networking, staffing agencies, job match services, educational institutes, job banks. Advertise. I'm a huge fan of Indeed.com. I'm a big fan of Craigslist, local in your area. Some charge, but it's very minimal. And the big ones, obviously, Monster, things of that nature. But I feel that you can also go through Indeed.com and Craigslist and look at resumes as an avenue. Networking. Go to local high schools, local colleges, things of that nature, that because you want people to easily be able to drive back and forth and get to work. And then also it's really helpful as a community to do it within your community. Staffing agencies. I do recommend staffing agencies, especially from a temp perspective. If you're manufacturing, anything of that nature, it gives you the time. They are a little bit higher cost in the beginning, but it gives you 3 to 6 months to see if this person is going to work with your company. Are they trained? Are they not trained? You're also putting all of the hiring to that staffing agency of what are the requirements, the abilities of this person. Educational institutes, again, local colleges, JCs, even high school career centers have the ability, and job banks. You can also go on I think it's californiajobs.gov, and any person who is on unemployment has to register on those websites. It's part of the requirements. So again, there's a large amount of areas you can go to get your pool of applicants. This is the time frame of candidate selection, applicant screening, employee application. I'm a big fan of them. I want them in addition to the resume. It's very simple. What is your name, address, references? What is your past job history? Are you able to submit documentations that legally allow you to work in the United States? Okay? And then off those applications, you can do a pre-phone screen. Why do I say phone screen? One, it doesn't waste too much of your time or that person's time, and you might be able to determine on the phone, which is one of the cheapest methods, if that person will work with your company. Okay. Now the process might seem like it's a very long, drawn-out process, but again, once you start getting routine with it, it flows very easily, and it's more based on what your time frame is. For any type of interviews, regardless if it's phone, in-person, multiples, I always have a printed out list of the same questions. Now, depending on the position, you might have some additional questions that are generated just for that position, but there's typically a key list of about 20 questions that I recommend you put according to your company and needs, and you ask every single applicant or interview them. And why? Consistency. I've asked you guys all the same questions. I've given you all the same opportunities, okay? Interviewing process. Again, prepare for the interview. Have the employment application. Have the resume. Have who's going to be doing the interviews. I recommend having at least 1 to 2 individuals in the interviews, because maybe someone saw something or heard something differently than I did, than you did, and then it also gives us the ability to, once that applicant has left, the two of us can get together and understand about this employee. Is it a good fit, not good fit, etc. Okay? And again, I would like to have a list of, or recommend a list of questions that you use standard across the board. Evaluation process. Is there any red flags on the application? Did you, on their job description, tell them that they need to have 2 years experience? They don't have experience, that you did have to have education or not, things of that nature, things that really pop out. Okay, and then what I do is at the very end, you have your final candidate selection. And what I normally do is rank them, say 1 to 5 or yes or no's. And I start with my first one and see if they're going to accept the position and work my way down. Employment offer. I always recommend, regardless of what type of company you run, what type of employees that you're hiring, regardless if it's hourly versus salary versus anything of that, I really recommend the employment offer letter. It has everything in writing about the company and about the position that you're offering to them. I normally start out, because I have been on the other side of the table wanting a job, interviewing for a job, so I really feel for the candidates. I give them a call first and just give them a really basic overall over the phone. You know, what the position is, what the salary is, what we're looking at as a starting date, things of that nature, so they can really start their mindset around if they want to accept or not. Okay, I always follow that up with official offer letter, which and nowadays an email will work just as well, okay, because they can print it out, etc. And I give them 72 business hours to make a decision, okay? Again, the standard offer letter is your starting salary and job title, start date and time, where are they reporting to, what location or department they're going to work at, who are they reporting to, and instructions for the first day. Now, on my offer letters, and you'll always hear me recommend pre-employment drug screening, there will be a little caveat on there that says contingent on pre-employment process, which could be taking and passing a drug test, taking and passing a physical to work, or it could be maybe we have to do reference check, background checks, things of that nature. Pre-employment due diligence. Coordinate and confirm drug test and physical exam process. If you are going to do this as part of your hiring process, there's a couple of things that need to go into it. One, you need to notify all current employees and make a posting about it. 2, it should be in your employee handbook. And 3, it should be part of actually the job posting as well. Conduct work references. There are limitations nowadays. If any one of my clients were to call me to say what kind of references they give out, I only authorize a very few things. That the employee did work for us, the dates they worked for us, what their position was, and if they have a signed waiver, they're requesting it, of what their pay was. Other than that, I do not ever give out if they are eligible for a rehire or not. Why is that? Because If I am having an employee that I would not ever bring back, I don't want to give them a reference. I don't want to say that, okay? Now let's say I have an employee that I would say that. Well, if people start noticing that I gave Sally versus Bob a good one versus a bad, they're going to start seeing that. So I've just put a line in the sand that I don't answer those questions for references, okay? However, you can ask them and see if people tell them to you. Conduct previous employment verifications. Again, really what you're wanting is, did this employee really work there? Did they really work these dates? Did they really do these duties, okay? Background check. I would very much caution you on this for the state that you live into, because there could be different requirements per state and type of job that you're hiring for. And then coordinate your first day of schedule. What day do they need to arrive? When do they need to arrive? What should they be wearing? Okay, and what should they bring with you? Are they going to fill out their I-9 and W-4, direct deposit slips, things of that nature? We want to make sure that once we offer employment to someone, we are putting as a company the best foot forward for them to succeed. Okay, now we've done the job description, we've done the posting, we've done the interviewing, we're doing the hiring, and we sent the offer letter. So the next thing up is new employee orientation. Why should we have one? Okay, it introduces new employees to your organization and their new role, and like I mentioned before, we want to put our best foot forward for success, not only for that employee, but everyone at the company, okay? It provides information about the organization's policies and procedures. Again, we'll go over what should be included in that new employee orientation very soon. It makes the new employee feel comfortable, helping them learn their role and the organization's culture and values. Before the employee starts, here's another key element, communication with people. You should already have notified people, let people know that you're hiring someone, you're looking for someone, someone's going to start. When I ran my own human resource department, once someone accepted the offer letter, I sent out a little welcome letter to every current employee I had with the person's name, possible picture if I had it, and just letting them know, just to be aware, we have a new employee starting on XYZ date. They'll be reporting to so-and-so, they'll be sitting so-and-so, and go from there, okay? It just lets everyone know that a new employee will be starting. So again, advise your managers and staff the new employee's name, position, start date. Arrange the workspace with all the appropriate equipment. Whatever the new employee is supposed to be doing, if it is from cleaning at a job site to construction to sitting at a desk, whatever tools they might need, make sure they're readily available for the first day of work, okay? Add the employee to organizational list, telephone, email. Again, make them feel already part of the culture, okay? Prepare documents. What's the new hire paperwork? That job description again that I mentioned, this will be like the third time it's been brought up because I want them signing it again and going into their file now that they're on board, making sure the human resource person or hiring manager goes over everything just to have clarity. And the employee handbook, which we'll go over shortly as well. Decide on what task a new employee will start on and prepare with necessary background material. You know, if they're cleaning somewhere, do we set them up on a team so they know exactly what to do? If they're in construction and they're bidding stuff, do I give them prior bidding documents for them to see? If I'm in construction, do I take them out in the field and let them see what's going on? Do I give them sample bids, sample prints, things of that nature, just to get them prepared? Because typically if you're hiring anyone with experience, they already know the job, but we need to make sure they know the company's way. Getting started, covering the basics. Make introductions, again, as we talked about, very important. I like to recommend giving a tour of everything. Assigned workspace and the rest of the office. Where do they hold their belongings, okay? Where are the emergency exits? Where is rest areas, restrooms, lunchrooms? Where do they get all their supplies? Who do they ask? Where do they park? Things of that nature just to make it easier for them, and again, putting our best foot forward for them to succeed and for them to feel comfortable. Again, if you have an organizational chart, it's very important for employees to understand who they report to, who is their counterparts, and that way there's no disruption moving forward. Job duties and responsibilities. Review the new employee's job duties and responsibilities, including the job description. Again, you'll hear me mention this so many times of how important this document is and what is their expected outcomes. Now, this is also performance indicators. Let's say someone builds gadgets. How many gadgets are they supposed to build in a day, in a week, in a month? What is your progression plan for them? Maybe we give them a month to get prepared, or 3 months, and we're going to check their progress again. And then what do we want to be done in the first days, first weeks? Maybe it's just getting to know employees. Maybe it's because you hired such an experienced person and we need them out there right away doing what they're supposed to do. Provide relevant reports and information needed for their job. Okay, again, give as much information or support as possible to have them succeed. Give specific outcomes for the first day, such as look at the organization's website, review special documents. Again, typically your first day is going to be meeting with HR, filling out on your new hire paperwork, touring the facility, and just really getting to know your surrounding. Good things, again, to mention: start and finish times, lunch times, breaks. Do you guys have set ones? I've worked with companies that the entire facility shuts down at 3 times during the day, 2 breaks and a lunch. Okay, you should notify someone of that. Is there enough time? Is it a 30-minute lunch or an hour lunch? When do you need to take it? Okay. Do you have an introductory period, 30, 60, 90 days? Are we going to do an evaluation? Are we going to sit down? And then, of course, always safety, safety, safety. What are the procedures? Do they need any PPE and helmets, shoes, eyeglasses, earbuds, anything of that nature? Do they need it? Let's make sure they either have it or you get it for them right when they start. HR administrative procedures. Have employee fill out and return all your paperwork. I really don't like individuals working without us having the information, because one of the things that I asked on the application, if you remember in the beginning, is can you provide documentation that legally allows you to work in the United States? That's the I-9 form. That is the verbiage that is used. Anyone in the United States can have the documentation ran through a system. If you're interested in that system, please give me an email after this and I can let you know about that. It is free to sign up and it is through the government. It's actually SSA Verify, okay? It's a really good thing, and it just lets you know if the employee is giving you information that legally allows them to work in the United States. What is the Employee Policies and Procedures Manual? Make sure you go over key elements in those items. Don't just throw the book at them or say it's on our web. Really go through key ones and have them sign that they have received it and will read it. What is your absence policy, your leave, your vacation? Do you get holiday pay? What is your pay cycle? Things of that nature. And then what's really big and changed over the last couple years is privacy issues, right? So your telephone, email, and internet policy along with the passwords. Already have them set up, and then make sure they're aware that, you know, these items are for work related. Can they not use personal time, etc. on them. Moving ahead, confirm that the employee understands what is expected, duties and responsibilities. This is a very much time for us to relate to our new employee that we do have expectations. However, we have an open door policy. Please explain to us. Please come with questions. Be very, very clear when you're explaining things to your new employees or current employees that they understand their duties and responsibilities. I would recommend schedule regular meetings with the new employee to ensure that they're on track. And I don't mean they need to come to the HR office for 30 minutes. It's more of maybe making sure the HR person checks with the manager of that person. How's the employee doing? Have we gone up there and been like, do you have any questions? How's it going? Things of that nature, really just to engage them. And maybe if there is a problem, we're going to find out earlier and can fix it. Or if they absolutely love it and they want to take on more, do more, things of that nature, we're going to have a communication already built with this new employee. And then establish future performance expectations. Again, we gave the example of someone has to make widgets. Do they have to make 10 widgets, 15 widgets? Maybe we're going to give them enough time in 90 days that they have time to expand that number, but once they hit 90 days, we need them X, Y, and Z. A good orientation will enable the new employee to be successful by reducing anxiety in employee. They're nervous. They're coming to a new place, a new management, new employees, and everyone wants to be liked at some point or another, or get to a point that they can get along and succeed at work. Sharing relevant organization information, beginning a process of learning about the organization's missions and work. What do you guys stand for? What do you do for your employees? What is it that you want to represent your employees and your clients with? Socializing the employee to the culture of the organization. Do they fit in? Well, again, as I mentioned numerous times, how do we put our best foot forward to make sure that employee works well with people, works well in organization, and with our style? By doing the orientation, checking in with the employees and managers, it's a building relationship between the new employee and colleagues, including managers and supervisors, and fellow workers. Again, I told you communication is so key because all of a sudden I have a new employee that no one else knew about. All of a sudden have a new employee, they don't know what they're doing. I've worked in this business and industry long enough that people's feelings get hurt. So what this is doing is really setting a precedent for the company that this is what we do when we're hiring people. This is what we do when we're interviewing people. This is what we do when we bring new people on. We're just communicating. Ultimately, the HR person, the managers, the owners have final say of who gets hired and fired, but it's really nice to communicate across the board with everyone in your company, and it really makes it for a successful situation. The favorite, employee handbooks. Anyone who has consulted with me or will in the future knows I'm always going to ask for that job description and what does your employee handbook say? Okay. And what are the advantages of having it? Okay. It helps employers to orient employees to company culture and expectations. It helps to protect employers from inconsistent practices that may lead to litigation. Okay. What we're saying is the company has these policies and procedures. Some are set by state, some are set by federal, and some are stated by the company. And what it does is it puts it in black and white in front of the entire company and on display that this is what you're going to give and get. Okay? It is a binding document. It is a moving document. We do addendums all the time. We make changes. The key is always to notify employees and to have them sign it. We recommend for employee handbooks to be updated or renewed at least every 2 years, okay? The changing laws from a state and federal level are very big. Federal is a little bit less because we have presidency terms every 4 years. However, on a state level, it's much different because of your state government, okay? It identifies and clarifies employee and employer relationship and communication. Again, when it's in black and white, and let's just say you have an absent policy of, one of the most common is 3 days, no call, no show, okay? If it is in writing in your employee handbook, how do they defend that? How does it not work, okay, when you're a disciplined employee? On the flip side, if it is in writing in your employee handbook, you need to write up or terminate any person that falls in those categories, okay? So it is a consistency thing. What are some really important policies? Policies are not worthwhile unless management follows them and enforces them consistently. This could be difficult. We can't just enforce the policy when we want to, against someone we want to. This has to be consistent for your company. Our company has this policy. That is a line that has been in the sand, okay? No substitute for personal interaction cannot take the place of one-on-one interaction between management and employees. What this is meaning is don't just hide behind the employee handbook. You utilize this employee handbook to make sure the employees and the management are very clear what the rules are. But you still should have conversations with your employee. If you remember me talking about the orientation portion, is have that supervisor manager, hey, how's it going, new employee? How's your first week been? How's your first 2 weeks? Still have a conversation. Or even though the employee handbook says make sure you're wearing protective wear, I'm not going to run back to my office and get the employee handbook and say, look, it says right here you need to wear eyewear. No, I'm going to walk up to that employee, and for safety reasons, I'm going to remind them they need to have eyewear on. Okay, it's a safety thing on top of it being a rule for our company. Do policies reflect practice in the workplace? Again, 90-day performance reviews. Do not put that in your employee handbook if you don't do them. Okay? Don't commit to a policy that can't be enforced. Immediate termination for unapproved overtime. Okay? It's very hard to do that. So again, there should be a step program, and in any employee handbook, I always give you 3 to 4 steps, and they all say step 1 up to termination depending on the severity of the offense. Okay? Are your supervisors trained on the policies? Trained on the changes, revisions? What do they do if they know the policies? How do they enforce them? Is the procedure that everything goes up to the human resources and they handle all of them to make sure it's consistency, to make sure maybe the person's been wrote up 3 times or 2 times, things of that nature. Make sure your managers and supervisors are also trained in what the policies are and how they enforce them. Some topics that are must-haves. At-will employment. Okay, what does that mean? That means the employee can quit at any time and the employer can fire you at any time. Okay, both not based on the protected classes, obviously. You should all be equal employment opportunity. Again, we're talking about the protected classes, but again, you should be hiring based off skills and needs of your company. That you're an anti-harassment, 0 policy on that. Employee status definitions, what does that mean? Are they part-time, full-time? Are they salary? Are they hourly? Are they exempt or non-exempt? Be very descriptive on that. Plus, I like to also put that on their offer letter. Do you have a sick leave policy, pregnancy leave, workers' comp? Any of those type of leaves or policies should be very clear in your employee handbook. What is your policy on overtime, timekeeping, meal and rest periods? What does your state require of you? What does the federal require of you? And let's make sure it goes in the employee handbook. Just a little funny time. My door is always open, so feel free to leave at any time. So just some funny HR humor, I guess you'd say. Some topics that are recommended, open door policy, okay? We want employees to feel that they can come to us if they feel there's a problem or a concern. Now, I want to justify one thing because we have talked about the organizational chart earlier in this discussion. When it comes to someone who has a harassment problem or issue, they really should not go to another employee. However, anytime a matter is presented to a management level, that should be okay. Meaning, say I'm Sally's boss, but she goes past me to my boss. That's okay. I would rather the problem just be coming out to a management level than worried that she overpassed me, okay? So again, make sure it's open door policy. What that leads back to is make sure your supervisors and managers know what they're supposed to do, okay? Electronic and social media. Everything is right now, right now. I have quite a few clients that have completely taken cell phones out of the picture, meaning they can't have them, they can't use them, they can't use them for music. Then I have some clients that rely on the electronics right now. That's how they get their time cards, that's how they get their schedules, that's how they report to work, sick, etc. So again, we just want to base it on what your work requirements are and a state and federal level, okay? Solicitation, if I can get that work right. Bulletin boards and visitors. What is your policy? Bulletin boards are very important. Where are your federally and state mandated posters that are required by the Department of Labor? Where are those listed? Okay, depending on your location and company, you should have it in English and whatever your next dominant language is, okay? And on that, who's your workers' comp carrier? Where's the closest doctor? Where is the closest clinic? Okay, where's the closest hospital? Visitors, okay? Manufacturing, I recommend no visitors whatsoever. I could have vendors come through, but I'm going to have them sign a waiver release, make sure they have their hard hat on, etc. Okay? Drug and alcohol abuse. I hope everyone has a zero tolerance policy on this. If you are with Insured Solutions, we do drug testing for workers' comp claims and injuries, but I would always recommend you guys are doing pre-employment drug testing. Depending if you have a physically demanding job, I'm always going to tell you to have a pre-employment physical as well. But you should have a zero tolerance from using it, being affected by it at work, no selling, no solicitation of it either. Prohibited conduct. You'll see in a lot of employee handbooks, we're going to have like 35 extra little things thrown into this do not happen category. Workplace violence is another one. Now, again, I've mentioned this to you guys before. HR 360 has an amazing template that can be personalized for your company from a state and federal level, okay? If you guys don't have the information, again, email me. You can go on there and personalize it for your company. You can put a logo on it. You can get a PDF or a Word file, and you can go and print it. Okay, it is going through the HR 360 system. If you want to do that and have me look at maybe just the items that you've personalized, we can do that as well. But I would definitely recommend you looking on this website that is with your Insured Solutions packet. Okay, this is the fun stuff, okay? Disciplining, but recognizing people too, okay? Which will it be, the carrot or the stick? Has anyone heard of this? Okay, to me, it's consistency and fairness, okay? I'm going to have, and you've heard me throughout our time today, say we're going to use the same interview questions for every candidate. We're going to use an offer letter for every person we offer a job to. We're going to have the same new hire paperwork, right? We're going to treat people the same. We're going to have an employee handbook that everyone signed. I'm going to have a policy everyone has to write up. When I first started consulting with this one company a few years ago, a client, they had this employee handbook. We had a company all meeting. We discussed all the policies and procedures with the client or with the employees, and we gave them a little bit of time to adjust. One of the items that we changed was everyone on the floor, from the second you walked out to the shop until you left, you had to have safety glasses on. Within that first week, we wrote up 15 people all at the same time. 15 people, okay? Because it didn't matter who you were or what you were doing. The second you walked out onto that floor, in order for my company or their company to be consistent and fair, we wrote up 15 people. Okay, same thing goes for attendance. I can't let Bobby versus Joey miss 3 days and not getting rid of, and vice versa. Okay, so consistency and fairness. I believe on disciplining people who do not do what they're supposed to, but I also believe in rewarding and acknowledging when they do stuff. Okay, so again, consistency and fairness. Have an employee handbook. Again, such a key item. Again, you can get on HR 360. Please take a look at that. Have it. Have a company all meeting with it. Have every employee sign it. What about discipline? Have an easy corrective action form, which I'll show you in a moment. I use corrective action form. It has a positive tone to it, and one that allows the employee to change their behavior. Okay. Now, we want individuals. At the end of the day, everyone should want employees to succeed. Once employees succeed, the business succeeds and moving forward, okay? But what that doesn't mean is that we're going to allow other people who are not doing what they are supposed to get away with it, okay? You want to use the same documentation method, which is the corrective action form, verbal, written, and remember what I told you, every line will say up to termination depending on severity. I will get clients that'll call me and be like, well, Shri, they haven't done 3 things yet. Well, we have to break it down of what they're doing and the severity to see if should it be a verbal versus written versus final. We also have the ability of suspension, okay? Here's the corrective action form. It's very simple. Date, employee name, job title, supervisor, level of action. What are we doing? Is it a verbal, written, suspension, termination? Cause of corrective action. Pick something there. Now, if it is anything that is in the employee handbook, policy violation, what one? I want it copied, or I'd recommend you copying that from your employee handbook and also the sheet that they signed and attach it to all of it, okay? Details regarding cause of this correction action form. I like detailed, not your opinion, not I don't like Bobby. Bobby did not show up on 4/25 or 4/26, no call, no show, things of that nature, okay? Has the employee been previously counseled on this or on a similar issue? Okay, I want it written down. Say this is the second attendance problem we have. When was the last write-up? How many days did they do it? When were they notified? What is the counseling session doing? Okay, let's say it was an attendance. It's going to be, you know, you were absent this day, you didn't call in, this impacted the workload, etc. What's our action plan? You will arrive to work on your scheduled days. If you cannot make it, you will give us a call within whatever your policy says. If this occurs again within the next 90 days, you could be suspended up to termination, something of that nature, okay? Now, I always want signatures. However, by law, I cannot force an employee to sign this, okay? Now, what I should have said in the beginning of this correction action is, again, I would love to have 2 people present, 2 people, okay, for your witness, the he said, she said situation. Now, an employee can refuse to sign this. That's fine. Just put refusal to sign. It doesn't mean that it's not going in their file. It doesn't mean that it's not a write-up. It is, but they can refuse it. But make sure it's dated. Again, I'd like a supervisor signature, a witness signature, human resource signature, whatever it may be. Keys to a successful discipline. Again, treat all employees fairly. Follow company policies and procedures. Distribute and follow all written company policy and procedures. Again, have meetings. When I was my own human resource manager, I would have quarterly meetings, monthly meetings with the safety, just to kind of give them a little heads up with HR, make sure attach it to their checks or bulletin board, anything that I felt was very important. I'd make sure I got signed confirmation from them. Be consistent. Look at those words again. Enforcing the rules and documenting problems. Give accurate and objective performance appraisals, okay? Again, make sure, say you guys do performance evaluations. Don't wait for them to come up only at that evaluation. Talk to your employees, okay? Communication. Remember, it's best to warn before firing, okay? Follow company policy. Keep personal matters confidential. Confidential, okay? The least amount of people to know, the best. Stop rumors from spreading. Again, this is why I'll have company all meetings and say, this is what the course of action is. So there is no he said, she said, I heard, they heard. Nope. As a company, this is what we're saying. Don't retaliate. Employees must feel free to register complaints and concerns. So again, consistency and fairness. At the same time, I will have to write people up. I will have to possibly fire people. But again, if an employee comes to you with an issue or a problem, we don't want to retaliate. We don't want to give them the worst schedule, the worst location to work, etc. Okay, so scenarios, we're not going to, let's see, employee 1 continually makes the mistake of not processing and paying certain invoices on time, which costs the company expensive late fees. Recently, there was a major invoice due to Dell for $8,000 that was not paid on time and cost the company more than $1,000 in late fees. Taking care of and properly handling invoices is a major part of Employee 1's job as an accountant. Anthony, Employee 1 manager, has brought this concern to Employee 1's attention on 3 separate occasions over the past year. What should Anthony do now? So, in my advice was, at this point, the employee has already gone, the manager's already gone to the employee. I'm hoping at some point this has been already conveyed to HR or a representative that could help write this person up. I'm going to go under the assumption that this person has been talked to 3 separate times, has had a verbal, written, and at this point, I'm going to state we're going to term this employee, okay? That's if all the other steps have been put in place. Now what? What do we do after all of this, right? We have talked about hiring. We've talked about onboarding. We've talked about employee handbooks. What about recognizing the good stuff of people, right? What is your performance rating? Are they excellent, very good, good, average, below average? What are they, okay? And just as well, to keep consistency and fairness, is I also believe on giving them a pat on the back. Doing a great job. How are you doing? What can we do? Where are we going from here? Okay, so the performance evaluations, I think they're very important. Now, it doesn't have to be a huge formal process. It doesn't have to be a 5-pager. It literally is just an indication of where are they performing. Okay, this also helps because if you call me and say, Cherie, I have this person who's not performing correctly, I'd be like, do they have a job description? Have you guys ever evaluated them? How do I know their performance is declining? Okay, so are a good thing, however, sometimes a simple can be better. Okay, just recognize them. How are they doing? Give them a pat on the back. Thank you for doing good. Thank you for getting that email back to me so quickly. Thanks for stepping in. Okay. Why is this important? Employee satisfaction. It makes them happy. Now, you'll see the studies all the time that they want to say that money is the key to employees being and staying at their work. That's not true across the board. Literally, employees, we are going through a little difference with the millennials at this point, but employees' satisfaction, okay? They want to know they're doing a good job. They want to hear they're doing a good job, okay? They want to be recognized. And literally, it could be like, thanks for getting that email back to me so quickly. Thank you so much for stepping in when Bob was out sick, things of that nature. It also, you get better performance. You'll see your company succeed as well. Keep it simple, and I won't say the last word, but we all know what that one is. Appraise them, pat on the back, great job, good job. It's very, very simple. People who have been my clients before would probably see this. It's just a little thing that I've given out, presented, that it's just a simple little thing like, wow, you did a really great job, thank you. And it's very, very small. Due to the time in this webinar, we did not fully go into the personal evaluations. If that is something you're interested in, we can either do another webinar specifically on that and job descriptions, or again, at the end, you guys can email me and we can look into your company to see if it's beneficial and how to do so. No one likes to terminate. I will tell you, I don't mind it, and that's not to be mean or anything like that. Again, it's on the line of, is someone doing their job and are they doing it well? We want them to do a good job, okay? That's the goal of having everything that we've talked about set in place along with corrective action. We're human. We all make mistakes. We could have all made a better decision. However, let's say none of that's working, okay? Termination. We want to minimize the exposure, okay? When I'm consulting, you guys have heard me say, I consult on the basis of what do I have to give to an attorney. Paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. Document, document, document. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Job description signed. Employee handbook manual signed. Evaluations done. Corrective action forms done. Offer letter generated. You'll start hearing the same things from me, okay? Now, is it legal compliance? Is it mandated by federal or state requirements? Okay, and what will be the minimal disruption for that department, that employee, that company? Claims and complaints. Discrimination, retaliation, wrongful termination, okay? There are quite a few things that can lead to litigation. We cannot control what an employee is feeling or what they do afterwards. What we have to do is make sure that as a company, we have done everything we possibly could to do it in compliance with the state, federal, and company policy, okay? Now, what comes out of an employee that's terminated? There's several types of termination. There's at cause, meaning we're letting them go due to something, okay? A layoff, maybe we're downsizing, maybe we're trying to save money, maybe we're closing a location. There's different things that come out of it. Unemployment benefits, okay? I recommend that anytime you lay off someone, you already have printed out paperwork of your state EDD office, okay? The company pays into that. Lawsuits. You have a high number of lawsuits, and it's a lot of money lost, and it goes typically to the lawyers, unfortunately. Okay? It's also your reputation on the line. How do you treat employees? How do you let them get away with things? What do you do to them? Okay? Employee morale, retention impact. Community industry. What's going on in that industry? Okay? Different things affecting. I mean, we had the recession here in California, at least back in, I think, 2007, 2008, affected construction highly. So again, just look at what's going on in your surroundings. But again, what can we control? The elements we talked about today. Okay, decision to terminate. Volunteer. The employee resigns. They give you days notice, 2 weeks notice, whatever that is. I still will do a termination letter, but it will be that the employee voluntarily gave notice on such and such date. Involuntary, due to business needs or for cause, okay, due process. Review decision-making process and reason for termination. This is really the at cause one, right? They're not showing up to work, they have problems, they violated the policy, they stole, they messed up something. There's reasons for it based off federal, state policies and company policies. Again, we talked about layoffs. Make sure you have consistency. Now, layoffs typically are due. I've come from a lot of manufacturing and construction background. I have seasonal layoffs, okay? It's across the board. Who are you laying off and why? How did you make your decision? Make sure your decision is not based off any of the protected classes, okay? When I was in construction, typically it's that whole job site's shut down. Everyone on that job's got to go. Okay, some of my senior people might be able to move to another job site, but other than that, make sure your criteria is not based on any of those protected classes. Again, there's that word, documentation. What evidence do you have that supports your decision of laying this person off or terminating this person? It's very crucial. Okay, termination steps. Again, due process is just the slide we just went over. Review employee file. Is everything in there? Okay, is all your documents in there, all your payroll records, medical, whatever it may be. Schedule a termination meeting if you have this. Now, if this person, you're terming them, make sure you check with your state and federal level of what are the requirements of the money due to the person. And I would assume almost every state, if you as a company are making the decision to lay off or terminate that person, at the time of that meeting, you need to give all money owed to that person, okay? Request proposed final pay. Again, make sure everything's included that. Do they have vacation hours to be paid off? Are you paying up to this day? I always recommend when you're terminating, I pay a full day. I let them go in the morning. I try to let goes on Tuesdays, not Fridays. I guess just out of my experience as to why I do that. And make sure you have final pay. Required forms. Do they need COBRA? Let them know what their last vacation hours were. Let them know, do they need to return anything? Do you owe them anything? What are the steps if you have a retirement plan? Do they have company shirts? Okay. Coordination day of termination. Consider uncooperative employees. Again, I would recommend always having at least 2 people present for this. I have had confrontations with this. It gets ugly. I've had cops called before. It's not always fun. Okay, conduct the termination meeting. Again, if you can have 2 people, it's great. I prefer to not have a decision maker in there. Okay, meaning I don't normally have the owners of the company present. It's typically an HR person, possibly management, because at this point, the decision has already been made. We're just executing it. Okay, and then whatever your termination system process is. Okay, again, we're going to break these down, review the employee file. What's the benefits? Paid time off, health insurance, retirement. Do they have any company property, system access? I recommend anytime someone leaves, depending the level of employment, I have passwords changed, I have door locks changed. You'll have to justify that for your company, but those are some key elements that I look in to make sure they don't have access, okay? Again, attended by 2 people, HR rep direct, at least 2 people. When I used to do this, I would literally just have an upper management in there that didn't say anything. They were just there. Supervisor starts the discussion. Be very, very direct, concise, and to the point. Okay, reason for the termination. The decision's already been made. You're literally just executing it. Okay. Now, the direct supervisors can do this, or the HR could do the whole thing. Okay. Again, this is really the whole gamut for the termination. Again, we talked about final pay, benefits, termination forms. There is a separation report that if you guys like, you can email me for. It's just, this is typically of individuals that are leaving on their own, of what did they like about it here, what didn't they like, are they going somewhere, those kind of lines. Exit interview, return of company policy. Do they have a cell phone? Do they have keys, gas card, employee t-shirts, again, as I mentioned. Make sure you also state that they are no longer allowed to go on any sites that are your companies, that they used to go with employees, you know, because I have clients that go to service other properties, other sites, construction sites, etc. Make sure they are aware they're not allowed to go on there for the company purposes or represent your company. Collect personal items, and I escort them out of the building. I don't want them lingering, saying goodbye, things of that nature. Unfortunately, get them off site. Immediately disable their email account, any access they might have to programs, things of that nature. Again, once the employee has left the building, when I was Human Resource Manager, I sent out a little short email saying, as of today, this person is no longer working here. We wish them the best in their future. I don't say why they're gone. They're just gone. Okay? Now, once everything's done, you collect everything in the employee file. Okay, your personnel file, your I-9, any trainer records, anything now can be combined into one file. I do recommend for retention, you keep it all for 7 years. There are different breakdowns by state and federal. 7 years is typically the longest, okay? But if you want to go by item, by like payroll, etc., you can look into the retention schedule for your state on that. Okay, we are just at the 1 hour mark. And so if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please email me. Here's my email address, and I will return them if you have questions, concerns, anything of that nature. We'll also start preparing an email that has some of the sample handouts we talked about. But I really appreciated all of your guys' time and joining us for our first webinar here at Insured Solutions from a human resource topic, and I hope to see you again. We'll hope to get out maybe an annual calendar for all of you guys. I wish you the best day and enjoy the rest of your week.